YouTube, heir of end times here, and what the corn crap's going on. It is time to continue the Archaon campaign. We're gonna start things off. I'm gonna acknowledge a couple of the top comments from the last video, just so that we can kind of have your input in here. So Shy Richardson says, I feel like a Marauder Chieftain should be resurrected for his bravery by the Chaos Gods to serve one of the Chaos Lords. And that's actually a pretty interesting point. I think that we will keep them in mind. He should be around here. Yeah, Felman Ingerson. You guys help me remember the name. When we recruit Sigvald's army, we'll make an exalted hero in the army named Felman Ingerson, and that will kind of have represented how this Norskin earned a title as an exalted hero in the Warriors of Chaos. So I think that'll be kind of a cool way to handle that. So good comment there. Let's see here. Lord, actually. So this one was one of the top comments. Doesn't really have any suggestions for the campaign, I don't think. Oh yeah, it does. But it says, this is Matt Fontwell. He says, good lord, actually imagine a Nurgle turd, because I opened the last video saying Nurgle's pestilent crap. He says, anyway, if you're gonna go all pretty with Sigvald, then I highly suggest you have a Chaos Sorcerer Lord with all of the damned units. Maybe name him Sirtha Ek in honor of the chariot riding legend. Or we could have Felman Ingerson. Does Ingerson belong as an exalted hero in Sigvald's army, or should he be the Chaos Sorcerer Lord with this army of freakish mutations? And it seemed like people were pretty okay with the idea of Sigvald kind of having the army of freaks following him around too. There was a few people who suggested that he wouldn't even let them get near him. I get it, but I think that it helps uphold his vanity if we say that Sigvald was going to have his own pretty army, and then all of the turds kind of follow in his wake because they're too ugly. In any case, that's some of the top comments. Thank you all for commenting. Please continue to do so. I read them all. I love it. Appreciate the kind words that people have, and then also appreciate the feedback that I'm getting and the participation that you all throw into this. That's definitely makes this a lot more fun for all of us. Make them hard to hit. How can you hit Sextus anyway? That seems like something that's not even possible. Desmond here. Continue the siege. And then let's just move up Archaon. Should be pretty simple, straightforward auto-resolve here. Yeah, not worth our time, though it did way more damage than it should have. I guess if I walked my Dragon Ogres and stood them in front of their guns, that kind of damage might be possible, but CA please. Here we go. Decisive victory. We've gained favor for the Chaos Gods. Let's hit... Ooh, got a Hellfire Sword here. That is a pretty nice pickup here early in the game. And Kolek could use just such a weapon. You're limited to equipping no more than 3 items that provide an ability. Really? 3 items. I don't have 3 items that provide an ability. I have 1 item that provides 3 abilities. What a ripoff! I demand justice. CA, please. Fine, I'll give it to Sextus. Since they won't let me give it to Kolek. Alright. Good enough for now. We're just gonna have to deal with it. Archaon can encamp. And we can rebuild, or we can build this Chaos Rift here and recruit Skullex the Great. He's a Chaos Dragon who I was going to place in Kolek's army to give him a little more flexibility. It'd be an all Dragon Ogre army, but I think an army of Dragon Ogres, it's just gonna have to work. Alright, Bersonling, a character, doing his job. A loyal servant. A loyal servant. Alright folks, there's one more comment that I feel like needs to be read on the campaign because it was really good. So Josh Martini responded to my call for people to come up with some of the story behind Felman Ingerson and his heroic deeds in the last episode, so here you go. Felman Ingerson saw the cowardly southern army arrayed before him. Such was the rage within him, and knowing that his master was near, he charged headlong into the ranks of Midland pikemen, seeking to carve red ruin and glorify himself in the eyes of the Chaos Gods. Blood spattering everywhere from both him and his enemies, the Norskin was driven into a blood frenzy, slaying hundreds before he himself was taken down from behind by a cowardly milk-drinking southerner. He lay in blood and gore as his body began to slowly fail him, listening to the screams as the champions of chaos began their bloody work. As the darkness enveloped him, the brave northern lord looked up to see the great horned helm of the Ever-Chosen staring deep within him. In the darkness he prepared himself to be taken in by his gods as his just reward for the glorious worship he performed in slaughtering the southerners before his death. But such is the way of the Chaos Gods, that their motives and purposes are all but unpredictable in the darkness. A rasping voice filled with steel and rage screamed from the abyss, "Your purpose is not yet fulfilled." Suddenly the world was filled with light and pain as the Norskin lord awoke, and twisting dark energies surrounded him, filling his wounds as he was suddenly filled with unimaginable pain as his skin thickened and his muscles regrew to deformed into monstrous mutations. Only one thought filled the mind of the Norskin lord: kill, maim, burn. As the warp energies settled, gone was the weak and maimed Norskin lord Felman Ingerson, and in his place was the raised Chaos Lord of Khorne, Felman the Slaughterer, who screamed into the night, "Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne." So he says, but actually Felman Ingerson needs to be reborn into a Chaos Lord dedicated to Khorne for his bloodthirsty rush into the Midland line. What do you all think? Josh Martini, that was awesome, man. That was awesome. I felt like that needed to be shared. Thank you. That's amazing. I loved it. Tell me what y'all think. I like his idea. Are you kidding me? I walk all the way to Altdorf and it's filled full of vampire scum. Am I even going to get to fight Karl Franz? Does the Empire still exist? Maybe not. That's going to be a sad, sad day indeed. The last campaign I played with Archaon, when I arrived, Franz was still very much alive and well. So I'm very disappointed, honestly. But I don't know what else I can do about it at the moment. Just go ahead and end our turn.
Vampires, grave scum. I have little interest in your petty power games. What is it you want?
Indeed. What do these vampire scum have to do talking to me? Tell you what, I have an offer for you, vampire scum. Here's an offer. You become a vassal, or you die. How about that? So there's some hope that we might get to face Karl Franz. I see one of his puppets here, Gunther Hertzzeller. So I'm going to cut my way through the undead Altdorf and find my way to the remnants of the Empire. So war is upon the vampires, and it's not going to favor them. Picked up a Helm of Discord. And I think we picked up... Yeah, we picked up another Hellfire Sword. Let's go to Appius, the Chaos Roman here. Let's give him the Hellfire Sword. And I'm going to give him this Helm of Discord so that he can debuff enemy units around him, make him a nice support character for the infantry. Give him the Scroll of Power for now. It's nothing special, but better than nothing at this point. And with our Archaon skill point, we're going to open up the Flaming Sword of Ruin. So we're going to have to upgrade Kolek's skill points here as well. We've got this Dominating Presence line, We'd started on monstrous strength, which we should continue to fully upgrade the monsters that dwell in his army. Gonna camp with Archaon, and then we'll push south to see if we can find the remnants of the Empire, and then I'll deal with these undead scum. After the turn, we've been issued a quest for Kolek Suneater. In the quest for Star Crusher, we've been told to embed a Chaos Sorcerer into his army. It says, far to the north, deep in the roots of the mountains, Kolek Suneater has slept for generations, a Shaggoth of tremendous age. Firstborn of Krakenrock, father of the Dragon Ogres, he stirs, sensing his time as the bringer of darkness has come once more. Dire storm clouds gather around the peaks and crags where the mountain god is said to slumber, yet Suneater is not fully awake. Before a great chasm that splits the mountains like a gigantic axe wound, hundreds upon hundreds of Northmen kneel in the pelting hail and snow, chanting sonorously as tribute after screaming tribute is hurled bodily down into the cavernous lair. Over the chanting rises another voice, distorted to guttural inhumanity, as a sorcerer servant of the ruinous powers completes the summoning. Rocks explode as a cataclysmic lightning bolt lances down. Let's have Appius temporarily move over just to complete this mission. So this should complete it. I hate how it takes away all of your movement points to transfer one unit in the army. It's honestly a bit ridiculous. Emperor Karl Franz and a flagellant spam is here. We had best kill him quickly because it looks like his empire is crumbling around him. So Archaon will deal with what's left of the pitiful emperor. Some important action took place over the turn, and that was that the pitiful von Karsteins attempted to single out Kolek and his smaller forces while Archaon moved south, and they have at least temporarily split the forces of Archaon, and we're suffering from vampiric attrition, at least at the moment. So we need to fight our way back out of this. Bretonia appears to likely be at the beck and call, so I have Lewin and Karl Franz, and if indeed they are military allies, we could kick off a pretty tremendous battle. Let's take a look at the diplomacy.
I am the blood of Gilles.
They are military allies, so we could start a tremendous fight here, one in which I would like Kolek to be present. I'm going to swing Kolek around, see if we can get the two armies together. I'm going to encamp with Archaon. If we are indeed attacked by Lewin and Karl, then we may have a worthy fight on our hands from a rather large force, and I would be okay with that, as I desire a challenge. But if they are weak and they seek to waste time and not engage, then they'll face the full force of Kolek and Archaon, and they'll regret having not attacked me when they had a better opportunity. Looks like Sextus, the Chaos Exalted Hero here, levels up again. We've given him a lot of abilities there in terms of assassination. We'll continue with this hard to hit, which will just make him more versatile in melee as he becomes very difficult. I know the Mirror Guard belongs to Sigvald, so I'm actually not going to recruit them at the moment because I want them to be available first thing. Or actually, we could just trade them to Sigvald's army. I'm going to temporarily bring in the Mirror Guard just to fill up the ranks for Archaon's army. They will be a somewhat pathetic unit compared to the rest of the units that I'm rocking right now, but they've got to get some experience, get busy polishing their shields before their lord gets here. Rather than Karl fight Archaon, he instead chooses to again think that he'd be smart by singling out Kolek. So we will make him pay for attempting this. His spam of flagellants, no doubt stinking of their own flatulence, Carl and a very pathetic Volkmar the Grim are going to be put down by Appius and Kolek. Gratuitous Kolek footage? The god of the mountain and thunder in front of a mountain with lightning and thunder? Yes, I did. And you're welcome. Is this not some of the coolest footage you've seen in this game? Holy crap, it looks so good. Anyway, welcome to the battlefield. Kolek and his dragon ogres are going to face a huge task here, as this is really not the type of army that they're intended to fight, and they really need to have an army that can help deal with infantry and has more unit models. I mean, if you take a look at the numbers here, we are 19 unit models versus 1,800. That is almost a 100-to-1 deficit that we're facing here in terms of now. I mean, don't get me wrong, Kolek is easily worth 100 flagellants. He has a little bit of splash damage and ward save, but his smaller Dragon Ogre Shaggoth cousins here and the regular Dragon Ogres are going to struggle mightily here, as the buffs on the flagellants from Carl and Volkmar are significant. They're packing 40 melee attack each and 40 weapon strength. They will land hits, and they don't break. And so this is going to be making it significantly difficult to deal with this many flagellants. My first goal, even though I know it won't break the leadership, is I wanted to charge all my Shaggoths in and attack Karl Franz and see if I could create a massive blob in order for Appius to take advantage of. And I was really hoping that the AI isn't going to do what it's doing, which is it's not just committing all of its troops here. You can see it's swinging some of its troops back around. And this is not good. That's not what I want. I need Appius to be free this whole battle, and I need maximum blobbage up here. And that was going to be my angle to try and do this, but the AI is actively attacking Appius, and this is very, very bad for me because I've not given him a warhorse because I was just saving for the Manticore, but I am deeply regretting the decision to have not given him a warhorse at this point because he is going to be massively vulnerable in this particular battle. You can see I'm already taking extensive damage on a couple of my Dragon Ogres. I am going to use the magic from Appius to deal as many casualties needed as I can, and that right there picked him up 100 kills very, very easily. And I am attempting to use a Pit of Shades right over here. Yeah, there it goes. It's going to get canceled, though, because of the combat that he's in, so I'm struggling mightily to get what I need out of Appius right now. He is getting attacked by some very overwhelming odds, and I'm bringing the Dragon Ogres to help support him because I can't let him get routed or killed. But it's at this point in the battle where I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to have what it takes to win this. Appius is going to pick up another 60 kills in this Pit of Shades. The Pendulum is actually probably the most effective against the Flagellants, and part of me wanted to just not even spend magic on the Pit of Shades and just use the Pendulum, but waiting in between the spell to use the Pendulum was very worrisome because if you look at my leadership, it's teetering on the edge there. I have one Dragon Ogre who's routed, has already come back. I get another opportunity for a pretty good Pendulum here, and Appius quickly clears 200, well, he's about 250 kills. So you can see the potential he has here, but there's two problems. One, I just can't summon enough magic, and two, the cooldown times and then leaving him completely surrounded by flagellants has become extremely bad situation for me. Look at that, Franz just got KO'd by Kolek in passing there, so Kolek gets his legendary Lord KO there, his first. And you're going to see Appius Rolus struggle mightily. I'm going to fast forward and kind of just show you all what happens. He continues to get attacked. I don't have a ton of magic for spells. I used the Helm of Discord, but then and the Arcane Conduit. He routs shortly thereafter. And I'm fighting desperately with the Dragon Ogres to keep him alive in this blob, but he's losing a lot of health as he tries to flee, and the AI is relentlessly attacking him because they do not want him back on the battlefield. This is very frustrating because it's exactly what they need to do, and if they weren't doing it, he would single-handedly be owning the Empire here. And so you can see that as Appius routs, the AI picks him up with an entire unit of flagellants that is looking to run him down and kill him, and they will. They're faster than he is at this point, so I'm going to have to dispatch this regrouped Dragon Ogre to stop this unit from attacking him and try and get Appius back, because without him, I don't have a prayer of defeating this blob of enemies. I'm going to fast forward to just kind of show you what happens, because this is just me smashing blobs of flagellants. You're not missing anything here other than the desperate ploy to keep Appius alive, which I'm using all of my Dragon Ogres, everything I can do to keep him alive, and the AI is just doggedly pursuing him. They seem to be quite aware that Sorcerer is the one thing that can flip this battle in my favor. I am just desperately trying to keep all these flagellants away from him, sending Kolek after him, and Kolek is going to be the only unit I'm left with here very shortly. Him and Appius, and the speed on Appius is something that I massively regret right now. I get another Pendulum and another Pit. It's not going to do a ton because the enemy's not as grouped up as they used to be, but I'm still going to pick up another almost 50 kills with Appius. And if we look at what's left here, I've got 4 unit models versus 387, so we're basically still outnumbered 100 to 1, and it's about to be more than that because this Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is about to drop, as is this one, and Appius is on his heels too, so Kolek is going to have to fight his way through about 350 Empire troops if he wants to win this battle. During the fast forward, I was able to single out Volkmar and kill him, but again, it's not going to matter in terms of leadership. The only reason why I tried to kill him was because I didn't want the power bar to sour against me and kill my leadership, and I knew that if we took Volkmar out, the power bar would favor me slightly better. So Appius routes again, and my ploys to keep him alive seem to be failing, and I was pretty certain at this point that he was going to die in this route. He's down to 286 hit points, but he just barely escapes once again. And I realized that the only way that I can win this battle is through massive cycle charging and kiting Appius away and using that against the computer since they want to win so badly. If I just sit still with Kolek, the combined attacks of all these flagellants will kill him. Look at this, the AI already locked on to Appius again. So I'm going to use Kolek as a kind of mobile defense platform here, and we're going to go flagellant bowling. He is going to be ripping these guys to shreds. So I'm able to use Kolek to slow the advance and keep Appius safe once again. Go ahead and fast forward and kind of show you. It's too late for me, but I realize, like, oh man, I really have to start cycle charging. So that's what I start to do. Hit and run, hit and run, hit and run. Don't give the AI any chances to land any hits because Kolek can so massively disrupt their unit. And that's what I'm going to use him here for, is just hit, run, hit, run. And you can see that the number of kills on Kolek is starting to be staggering. He's up to about 340, 350 at this point. He's on a tear, and Appius is at 305. So between the two of these guys, they've killed about a third of the enemy army. So just to give you an idea that those 2 units accounted for a third. Look at that. There was like three unit models left there, and Kolek just smashed all 3 of them at once. His splash damage is pretty potent. He gets a lot of splash damage done, and these little 1Z, 2Z units like this, I'm just picking them off one by one. I'm going to work my way through them. So every time Kolek rolls through, heads roll. I also realized that he's very tired, and I'm wishing that I would have taken the Vigor Loss Reduction buff that you can get with Kolek. But again, now at this point you can see I can keep Appius safe. He's got very little magic left, but I might be able to get off of Melkath's Mystifying Miasma or 2, which will really help me with these rather large units of flagellants. There's 78 out of 90 still in this one unit, and I'm just running shy of hit points. I managed to get Kolek back to very tired, but I can't seem to create enough distance to give him the rest time to get any less tired, or else they start to catch up to Appius. So I could probably get Kolek away, but there's no retreat from this battle, and I cannot let Appius get killed here. He's a main character, and I'm not going to allow it. So for a while I run, trying to charge up Winds of Magic, trying to get Kolek a little bit of vigor, but it's just not working. So I realized that I'm still going to have to turn and fight. So again, I'm just going to start picking at the enemy, and I know this won't be particularly cinematic. But if I sat here and showed this for the 30 minutes that it took to do this, you all would get quite bored. so that's why I'm fast forwarding. The whole point of this is to summarize the story, so I'm gonna skip ahead and kind of show you what the end game looked like here, and you'll see whether or not I was able to pull this off. After 37 straight minutes of pounding flagellants with a giant hammer, Kolek is nearing victory, and he's about 550 kills to show for it. So despite the mass of unbreakable flagellants, he is over here absolutely immolating his enemies with the force of this massive hammer. It is pretty gruesome, folks. I'll let you get a couple of these cinematics here to see that these units are going to wish that they had had breakable leadership, because their bodies are quite breakable to the mountain god. This is the last remnants of the 1800 flagellants who sought to defy the lords of the mountain. And Appius Rollus, despite the close call, roams free and alive in the background with 300 kills to his name, but too risky to bring him any closer to the battle. There are 0 winds of magic. Look at this one flagellant. Woo! Not much left. Not much left. Give me another one over here. Kolek is just picking them off. Bracing for a charge from a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. An electric one at that. Here it comes, folks. Let's finish him off. So Karl and Volkmar weren't really prepared to fight Archaon. Certainly not. His infantry would have ruined this flagellant build very, very quickly. Kolek's army not very well equipped to fight it, but I think that the Empire's learned a valuable lesson here that bringing down the Lord of the Dragon Ogres is not quite so easily done. That they'll have to come a little better prepared than this. There were no survivors. Wow, that was kind of a butt clincher. We were just up against so many unbreakable units. Killing Franz and Volkmar was easy, kind of a joke even, but were it not for the heroic antics of Appius, the Chaos Sorcerer, and Kolek, God of the Mountain, then that could have ended very differently, like it did for the other Shaggoths in Kolek's army, but they're happy to sacrifice themselves into the slaughter of their enemies. The buffs and amount of damage those flagellants were doing was somewhat suspect, but I do know that Volkmar and Karl are both capable of skill trees that can create some pretty significant buffs to those units. The good news is that Karl, and I know this is a turn-in, but I'm just explaining real quick, that Karl and his forces confederate with Nordland, so we may have a chance to kill him in a more proper setting. Now we've successfully embedded Appius into Kolek's army, and at a very opportune moment, in fact, or else that battle may not have been winnable. But then we've been asked to move a character into the Gormandy Mountains. Well, guess what? I have such a character here. Kolek is now capable of fighting the battle for Star Crusher. Now, I think we've learned an important lesson there, which is Kolek needs an army of infantry nearby, or even some rather crappy troops will have an opportunity to gang up on the relatively few numbers that he possesses. So I think that I have an idea. I would like to get it to where Kolek can recruit himself more Shaggoths, but Chaos Chariots, more specifically, because Kolek's army is all focused around Beast, I'm thinking that Gore Beast Chariots will be the perfect addition to Kolek's armies to round it off. So lots of Shaggoths, and then the Gore Beast Chariots for working infantry down. since the Shaggoths don't really excel at such a thing. We could also consider putting in a giant, like this Crush Skull foe stomper. So we will think through that. You all tell me what you think to that particular point. I'm not yet at a tier 5 encampment, though part of me kind of wants to save to do so, but we need some help in Kolek's army in the meantime, so I'm going to go ahead and work in this Unholy Furnace so that we would be able to get a hold of some chariots. And that also allows for the recruitment of Hell Cannons, which we don't have available to us just yet. Let's go Lord of the Storm. That also could have been extremely helpful in the last battle. And then you'll notice here that Lewin has strayed very near my camp with his knights. He has several units of questing knights, Grail Guardians, and peasant bowmen. We'll see who the real knights are. I may not be at war with him, but why not? Why not? Run, pathetic and supposed noble king of Bretonnia. Run for your lives. Flee before the might of Archaon. By Khorne's glory, check out this army of Chosen. Well, there's a couple of Mirror Shield wannabes here who are biding time until their lord Sigvald comes to lead them, but holy crap, this army is awesome. On the other side, Lewin's pathetic force of peasants is set to square off against me. On my left, I have Archaon Sextus, who are leading the Knights of Chaos, the Swords of Chaos. You can see them here as well as the Knights with Lances. My other flank has the Crimson Rampage, and my other 3 Chaos Knights. The Bretonnian army, just a blob of peasant archers in the middle with foot squires. There are some potent units here for Bretonnia. There are questing knights, there's a couple of paladins, and there are also some Grail Guardians, which are very tough units, but none of them particularly well suited, other than the questing knights, for taking down the kind of heavy armor that they're going to be facing here. But there are not enough questing knights to potentially give Lewin the victory that he needs here. The Bretonnians will charge valiantly, fighting for their lord, their liege, their lady, the land. But even for the lady, it won't be enough to save them from the fate that they're about to face. You can see that their middle is being overrun, and Archaon's knights, along with the reinforcing halberds here from the Sons of the Last Plague, which are almost in combat, are going to be more than enough to wreck all of these questing knights who are attempting to do some damage. When these Sons of the Last Plague get involved, large units get wrecked. Poison attacks, anti-large bonus, magical flaming attacks because of the Flaming Sword of Ruin. The cavalry is just going to melt like butter on a hot blade. Should catch some more of this. The peasant archers, their pox arrows, sitting back, attempting to cause damage. But I've now got the Knights of Chaos who have come in to help support. The Crimson Rampage is being supported by Chosen with great weapons. So despite having had to fight a Grail Guardian, they have support, and they'll be able to hack their way through it over time, despite the physical resistance that comes to these Grail Guardians. Now, the king, the peasant lord, Lewin, is running around here, trying to rally his troops to a victory, but a victory that he isn't capable of delivering at this point. The peasant king versus the Lord of the End Times, and the Lord of the End Times has been summoned. He'll be moving across the battlefield momentarily to come dispatch Lewin the peasant with the Slayer of Kings that he obtained in his quest battle. You see the knights with lances back there just absolutely ravaging through the forces of Bretonnia. Speaking of Lord of the End Times, here he is. Archaon is going to come make his presence known. I can't imagine why Lewin is fleeing right now. Folks, that's going to be it. Lewin flees, the remainder of the Bretonnians break, and are no more. Lewin falls, and our favor grows. The supposed king of Bretonia. King of defeat, perhaps. I'm gonna move Archaon closer to Kolek so that Kolek has some cover. He in fact has plenty of movement points. Let's bring him over and encamp. And prepare to get Kolek's army up to the standard that it needs to be. Alright, it's been 2 turns actually. I was able to accomplish a couple of important things. I'm gonna move Kolek and Archaon. Kolek completed the demonic forge, so he can now recruit Gore Beast chariots, and we are indeed going to do so. As for Archaon, I will help recruit Kolek some more Dragon Ogre Shaggoths, as Kolek's growth is still a bit short of what it needs to be, as we have to have a tier 5 settlement, or horde encampment. So I'm going to go ahead and get some Gore Beast chariots into this army. I think we probably want at least 5 of them. So I will get started with that. Again, quickly running through a couple of turns so that we can get prepared for some more epic battles. Look at this.
I am the lion.
The peasant king. Lewin's back. His army crappier than ever. Meanwhile, the armies of chaos have never been more powerful. I've taken this time with Archaon to re-recruit some Shaggoths for Kolek. Is there some reason why I can't move? This is really quite irritating. Okay, can you get off my screen? Thank you. Alright. Knew something was causing it. Alright, so we're still getting some Gore Beast chariots for Kolek, but we're going to exchange some units here. I'm going to put Archaon's knight back over in his army. I've got these Dragon Ogres to go into Kolek's army. I need some Shaggoths to replace those that he had previously. What, 21 of 20? Oh, and I got him the dragon as well, Skullex the Great. So, Kolek's army will certainly be one of beastly proportion. Gore Beast chariots, Dragon Ogres, dragons. It will be quite nightmarish. For the time being, I'm going to disband the Mirror Guard, and then I'm going to take Appius back over into Archaon's army where he belongs. We probably do need a sorcerer for Kolek and his troops, and we may take care of that at some point soon. But until then, I think we're okay now to have gotten some army put back together for Kolek. His Dragon Ogre Shaggoths will come soon enough. If we head into this encampment, we can go ahead and do Ruinous Warhost, which will lower upkeep and make it possible for me to get to those Shaggoths once we've gotten some more growth. Following the turn end, I have all the Gore Beast chariots, Dragon Ogres, Skullex, and 1 Shaggoth left. Archaon's army has been returned to its proper state. And I noticed that Lewin, Albric, and another peasant lord, or sorry, the Fey Enchantress, have all camped over here, so I have an opportunity to defeat 3 different legendary lords in a single glorious battle. So I'm going to move and attempt to engage them in combat. I'm going to move up Kolek first, and then I'm going to move Archaon into reinforcing range. I think right here should work. Hopefully they don't flee. It's quite possible they will, but since all their forces are here, I'm hoping to engage in an epic battle. Unfortunately, my movement range, it was strange. Kolek was close enough and Archaon was technically in reinforcing range, but when the battle pulled up, it said that Archaon wouldn't reinforce. I'm not exactly sure what happened. I'm going to end the turn. Maybe Bretonia will attack us, but my guess is that they'll flee. The Bretonian peasantry continues to hover just out of my reach. And rather than chase them, I've decided that the vampires are too haughty in their current state, and I am not happy about it. So what I'm going to do is humble, yea, maybe even humiliate the vampires here. We're going to push back the von Karsteins, and we're going to humble them in order to allow the empires of men to try and regrow, because I want a real challenge, a test of the true Everchosen, rather than these rollover, pathetic pukes who have been beaten by the undead and left in a simple husk upon the ground. So more challenge is what I want at this point, more challenge. So I am going to go after the vampires and take them down. The vampire-occupied Altdorf is so abjectly pathetic that we'll auto-resolve through that. There are some larger vampire armies nearby, but like the rest of the rabble down here, they're avoiding me. Fortunately, we do now have access to the Summoners of Rage, who will join Kolek's army, as is appropriate. So we're going to recruit the Summoners there. Archaon levels up, so I'm going to go ahead and give him Kindle Flame, make units weaker to fire as he fights them. And as for Kolek, we should be able to finish off Monstrous Strength. Then we may want to work on that large vigor reduction for his army, since they're going to be reliant upon vigor. The vampires are spreading all over the place. Helmengorst is headed north into what's left of Karl Franz's empire. There's even a vampire invasion over here. We're going to put down the undead and allow our true foes to build up so that we get an honorable fight out of them in the end. It's time to push into vampire lands. I'm going to take Archaon forward and replace this armor piercing here. I like it on the knights with lances. Gonna auto-resolve this quickly. I'm hoping that we'll get a fight with the vampires here at any point. Helm of Many Eyes. May have a character that can be placed on. We've finished the raising that allows us to start to fight the battle for the crown of domination. We all know that we have a character at Besornling's camp. Bersonling's camp. Why do I always say that wrong? In camp with Kolek. His growth is coming quickly, and we should be able to access the Dragon Ogre gathering rather soon. Let's just move a character, and we are now available with Archaon to teleport to the battle, and let's go fight that. But first, let's go ahead and mount Sextus on his Manticore, so that he and Appius are both astride Manticores in the battle. So here it is. We'll be fighting Intiro, chosen of Tzeentch, to obtain the crown of domination.
Even as this demon spawn plots to overthrow me, I know my destiny is absolute. Balakor will coronate me. Come then, Changer. Bring your best. I will prove once more that I am the Everchosen. For I am the Anointed, the bringer of woes, the one true Lord of Chaos!
Folks, here's a sight for you. We've got Appius and Sextus together again for the first time since the Western Rome campaign, I think. Flying side by side into combat. That is pretty cool. Over here, the Everchosen, ready to prove that he is indeed the chosen of the Chaos Gods against Tzeentch's challenger. He's going to slam into these Warhounds with poison and pretty quickly dispatch them. There are some Chaos Warriors and Chosen nearby, as well as some Chaos Spawn who are considering to enter this fight, but I'm going to cycle charge, and then I'm just moving my other units into position. I'm going to swing Appius and Sextus over here to terrorize the Chaos Warriors and Chosen so we can quickly break through the flank with Archaon's Knights, while reinforcements have been summoned by the Lord of Change. You can see his reinforcements off in the distance there. Some more spawn and some trolls, warhounds, and marauders coming in. Lots of troops, but the quality of these troops is probably questionable at best. And you can see that Intiro here probably should have summoned a little bit more solid infantry line if he wanted to have any prayer. Lots of monsters here, which if you were fighting this early in the game with lots of marauder units, this could be a very challenging battle. But with the heavy armor and the resilience of all the Chosen that we have, it is unlikely that the Lord of Change here will be able to change the tide of this battle, which is heavily stacked against him. You can see the Reavers of the Night Faith there in the distance. Mirror Guard is going to hit them with Searing Doom. I'm going to go ahead and engage all of his forces and see that his Chaos Spawn have come forward first. And in this particular battle, my Halberds and my Sons of the Last Plague are going to be particularly well suited to slaughtering our foes because there's so many large foes, and armored or unarmored, the poison and the anti-large on these guys is going to be absurd. Lord of Change goes ahead and swings into action over here, supporting his troops with Searing Doom. You can see Appius and Sextus dive bombing the Chosen over there, trying to flee up Archaon on that flank, while the infantry fight is fully engaged. My Chaos Knights are waiting in the background for the right moment, kind of letting the enemy fully flop before I decide to engage them in a massive rear charge to try and break the leadership of all the units that can be broken. The Chaos Spawn, not breakable. The remainder are. The Warhounds with poison have swung into the fight and are going to try and actually outflank me. But I've got my Manticores coming in. I'm going to use Appius to both use Enfeebling Foe and the Withering on Intiro. And then I will have Appius and Sextus move in for the kill, ridding us of the Lord of Change and prepping his army for a massive chain rout. So there comes Appius debuffing this foe. Here comes the charge of the Chaos Romans on their Manticore. Trolls arrive in the fight, but again, my armored infantry is just going to be a little too much for him to handle. The Lord of Change, speaking of too much to handle, is now out of his league in the fight that he's up against. A Sorcerer, yes. A Disruptor of Formations, yes. But a heavyweight slug out, not a fight that the Champion of Tzeentch is meant for. You can see that the bulk of Intiro's army is going to break following his death, knowing that they have indeed come up against the true Lord of the End Times. And here he is, actually. So Archaon rolling with his Swords of Chaos. They provide him that Guardian buff, where he gets extra physical resistance on top of his ward saves. They're going to roll in and clean up any remaining troops on the battlefield. Archaon overseeing the destruction of one of the few challengers dumb enough to face him in combat. And the battle is won. Intiro is defeated, and the crown of domination belongs to Archaon. Well, all I can say after that battle is that Tzeentch needs to try a little harder in who he chooses, because in Intiro, yeah, chosen as Tzeentch, but chosen for what? A plaything of Archaon's henchmen? Appius and Sextus put him out of his misery. And the favor, once again, is great. I will continue the push against the vampires, but we now have the crown of domination, which is going to give Archaon additional defense, attack, lower upkeep, and then the passive ability, which makes everybody within the radius immune to psychology. So pretty awesome special abilities that Archaon gains. So we now have the Armor of Morkar, the Slayer of Kings, the Eye of Shirian, and the Crown of Domination. All of these things. And his mount. So Archaon has completed all of his quest and takes on a lot of awesome abilities. So another turn later, we're ready to push forward, and the fight here that like I had mentioned, I'm going to take is we're going to push the vampires back. I want Bretonnia and the Empire to do some rebuilding, because I want a really good fight out of them. I don't want to fight flagellants and other crap. I want to be fighting great swords, demigryph knights. I want to be fighting the real deal when we fight them, and the vampires I don't so much care about, because they'll be kind of good to beat down anytime, honestly. So I'm going to go ahead and push through von Karstein lands, and I know this is a bit of a distraction from the campaign objectives, which is to take down Karl and the Empire, but I feel like, and I think you all will agree with me, and if you don't, it's fine, tell me what your thoughts are, but for me to go kill this sorry remnant of the Empire right now is just too easy, and so I want to give them some time to get stronger, so that we have a more epic fight from the Empire during this campaign. So anyway, that's all I'm aiming at right now. Nuln is very poorly defended. I'm going to continue the siege. You can see Vlad sitting back here. I'd love to fight Vlad and his armies, but you can see Isabella's actually right down here. They're avoiding me. My armies are so strong at this point that they just don't want anything to do with that fight. Look at Archaon's army. They lose like 2, maybe 3 warriors. 0, or like maybe like 5 or 6 losses from that one. 20 total losses. Armies are insane. I'm looting and raising everything because my growth is pretty good, and I mean the 20 growth just isn't worth it. I just want to keep banking up favor so that we can have more armies. I'm about to recruit Sigvald soon. In fact, we'll recruit him before the end of the episode and start his army off. But I just wanted to get these other armies into a good position first. Monster strength. Giant units. We probably want something that helps with chariots as well. Leadership, Aura of Chaos, Hearts of Iron. Yeah, we want this vigor reduction first, actually, because that's very important to this type of army that's running on very few units. We're going to take a little bit of vampiric corruption, or vampiric attrition. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about this. I'm hoping that maybe Vlad and Isabella will combine to fight us, but not likely, because they've been steamrolling the Empire with trash stacks, basically. Yeah, the auto-resolve is not good at handling trash stacks, and that's the reason why the Empire's getting steamrolled. Alright, so you all saw the turn in there. I was able to just quickly move forward, wreck the next von Karstein settlement. This is just honestly going to be some turn ending through some of this as we push them back, because you can see that they're attempting to avoid a fight at all cost. Pretty much all of our enemies are in the habit of avoiding a fight at all costs now, which is unfortunate. We were getting lots of fights earlier. It happens at some extent in your campaign whenever you get to a point where your armies are that strong. The AI's behavior in this game is better than most Total War games in the past, but they definitely will eventually get to the point where they just play the runaway game, which, a lot of people try and make the argument like, oh, that's just because the AI is actually being smarter instead of stupid. No, the point of the game is to have battles. You shouldn't have your AI programmed to run away from those battles. Yes, there should be some discretion, but when you start getting later into the game, they should be fighting. Alright, I've moved Archaon forward from Wissenberg, and I'm moving towards Fildorf. Isabella has some reinforcements, but it's still unlikely they're going to fight. So I'm just going to continue to push as far as I can into vampire territory. One good thing we've got here is we can actually now build the Dragon Ogre Gathering for Kolek. That'll reduce his upkeep on all these Dragon Ogres, and we can build it up to its second tier and be able to get Dragon Ogre Shaggoths in his army. We've got a skill point here on Appius, and he has nearly finished his entire magic tree here other than Occam's Mind Razor. I'm going to go ahead and do Smoke and Mirrors, and then we'll do the Mind Razor. So I'm going to go through another turn in. Hopefully we'll get some aggression out of the vampires, but you'll notice that the AI doing its typical thing here too. Because I'm at war with all these factions, the AI has not chosen to be at war with a lot of the other factions. They're all trying to focus on me. And so where I came here and carved a path through Grunberg and Nuln, hoping that the Empire or Bretonnia would take it, here comes Skarsnik and just rolls right in and takes it for himself. And none of the other factions that are normally at war with Skarsnik are, because they're all at war with me. So I guess I'm the unifier, Archaon the Great Unifier.
Vampires, grey scum. I have little interest in your petty power games. What is it you want?
Look at this. Strength rank 3. 6. Begging for peace, offering me money. For goodness sakes, Manfred. Pull up your diaper, quit wetting yourself, and let's fight. Holy crap. I see Vlad, Isabella, and a Ghoul King down here. I'm gonna move into their path and do my best to get a fight started here. I don't know if they're gonna bite. I guess pun intended with the vampires there. It was unintentional, but hey, when in Rome. So yeah, it works for me. I need just a little bit more growth here with Kolek. We'll get most of it here on this turn in. Let's see. Let's see if Vlad, Isabella, and Miland Gans is gonna attack us here. Well, during the turn, all three vampire armies tucked tail and ran as fast as they could off into the mountains to the south. They're just attempting to avoid an engagement with me so that they can come back and try and resettle the territory that I leave vacant. So, very, very frustrating when you're trying to play a campaign and you just want to fight and the AI just runs. Again, I understand that they want to program the AI to not take engagements where it's, you know, definitely going to get wrecked, but there comes a point at which your three armies just ran away. Like here's one here. See, they just ran into the mountains. You're running into the mountains and leaving your settlements wide open. They will get burned to the ground, and I have a straight path to your capital. Like, there has to be some point at which the AI recognizes, like, oh, hey, we can't just leave the path to our capital open. But unfortunately, they can at this point. Can, did, and will. I think I'm gonna wait just a little longer for the growth and get the Giants camp, so that when we get the support army for Sigvald, we'll be able to put Crush Skull Foe Stomper into it. So the vampires run away from us continually, but there's no more running, at least not for Averheim. Really? I don't know how Kolek couldn't reach Averheim on that turn. It's a little bit frustrating. The thing is, we can automatically attack here too. There's nothing worth defeating in the garrison. In fact, actually, Kolek didn't even come in as a reinforcement. Really? He's standing right here. Hold on. Actually, I guess he's just barely outside of the range of reinforcement. Yeah, he's just, okay. Well, that's stupid. Whatever. It's of little consequence. The loot is real, people. We got another 12% ward save on an assigned unit. Ooh, man, that'd kind of be a cool one to put on Skull-X, the Great Dragon. I think we'll do that the next time we get the opportunity. Headed into a battle, we'll put that on Skull-X. Piercing Bolts of Burning was one that we really needed here, and I'm extremely happy to get my hands on that. I'm going to go ahead and open up Flamestorm, and then I'll do the upgrade on both of those so that it costs less Winds of Magic. Oh, I get sick of that. I need to skip it every time. I'm just always clicking it to make sure that... Anyway, I'm going to end another turn, go eat all the halflings at the Moot, and then come in and burn their capital city at Templehof, or it wasn't Templehof, it was their capital. It's actually right down here at Schwarzhofen, I believe. Well, a couple turns later, I'm ready to attack the Moot, and look who comes crawling up behind me, having gone off and either fought a battle or gotten eaten up by attrition. Sorry, folks. I want big fights. If they would have just fought me earlier, it would have been so much more fun. No, they had to run off like babies and be little cowards. Just gonna move up Kolek and encamp here. I can't camp with Archaon, but we can upgrade Appius. Sextus and Appius are getting close to being able to unlock the immortality trait, which would be very good knowing that I can't permanently get them killed. Yep. Appius, be proud. You're now immortal. Look at these green skin moochers. I raised Nuln, or Grunberg, they took it. I raised Nuln, they took it. I raised Wissenberg, they took it. I raised Averheim, they took it. Look at this. Skarsnik the squatter. Ugh. The AI, folks. The AI. Well, there goes the capital. We picked up Filth Mace. Ooh. Poison attacks. I like it. Let's move Archaon up so that I have backup. I mean, Isabella is here. Vlad was somewhere nearby, but then took off. I'm gonna get over here and see if we can stir up a fight with Manfred. I just want a battle before the end of this episode. I'm dying for a battle. I do have the quest battle with Kolek that we could fight, but I'd really like to have a battle with the vampires. We did finish we finished the whatever that one is, the weapons, ensorced weapon, yeah, wow. I can't say that. If you all want to say it in the chat, I'd appreciate it. Nurgle's got my tongue, and I can't pronounce it right now. I kind of want this demonic armor, extra armor for Chaos Knights and Chosen. This one gives extra attack to Dragon Ogres and Shaggoths, which would be kind of cool too. But let's go with demonic armor first. Really focused in on Archaon's army.
Come, Counts. Abase yourselves before me. Bend the knee, and we'll talk.
Looks like that fight may be hard to come by, as Manfred is still begging me for peace.
What do you want, Grave Feeder? Have you run out of tombs to lurk in?
Yes, yes, yes. Khorne be praised. Khorne be praised. Look, we will finally get a fight from Manfred von Karstein at Castle Drakenhof. Finally, a proper fight versus the vampires. There will be a lot of Graveguard. There are going to be huge numbers of Vargulfs, cavalry, Vargeist. Finally. Oh my goodness, I'm excited. We finally get to take the fight to our enemy here. I'm going to pull up, and I'm honestly so enthused that I'm kind of hesitant to even come in and build. I think I will build siege equipment, though, because I want to trap Manfred here. So I'm going to continue the siege. And this may even have him draw in reinforcements to make this even more interesting. So I'm going to actually get some towers going. I'm going to continue the siege because we've got him trapped here now. He has to fight. And like I said, maybe we'll get lucky and they'll bring even more reinforcements over and make this even more interesting, because I want a huge battle here. And with Kolek, I'm going to come over and go ahead and build up this Lightning Grounds building, and then this one here, the Reliquary of Chaos. That actually may get me into positive upkeep territory, but that'll also give me the ability to recruit some Shaggoths to make sure we can pound out all these Vargulfs.
Greetings. Your abasement pleases me.
The Ripperhorn tribe is making an offer for me for a bunch of favor. They want to join the war against Talabheq, which I could care less about them fighting Talabheq. So I'm going to make a counter offer. I can make military. They have a vassal. I can't cancel any vassal status, and I can't make them a vassal, apparently. That's actually really frustrating. We could build up a military alliance, but I don't really want any of that. I just want them to fight von Karstein. So it seems likely that they'll do that, and so I'm going to pay them off to see if they can go finish off the remnants of the von Karstein faction. Well, it's a good thing that Appius just got the immortality trait, because he decided to go on a date with a vampire, and didn't end so well, but fortunately he's just wounded. Appius, come on, man. And the same thing with Sextus. Apparently they both managed to get caught up by the wrong people.
No mortal, no.
Always going after the ladies. Stay away from those vampire ladies, gents. Stay away. Alright, after a few turns, we are finally ready for the siege. I've got the towers, I have the extra Shaggoths. Let's roll, baby. It's time for a fight. It is time for a fight of epic proportions. There is going to be 9 Vargulfs on the battlefield to fight. Let's take a look at the Graveguard count. Looks like we're going to have 10 Graveguard, a couple of Cairn Wraiths, a huge contingent of cavalry, 2 Necromancers, and Manfred. And yeah, this is gonna be a big fight, so should be a lot of fun. Castle Drakenhof, the home of Manfred von Karstein, the pinnacle of the vampires' great extent, their empire, the Vampire Empire. Wow, those two rhymed, and I didn't really like that. But here it is, folks. The home of the von Karsteins. Bunch of Vargeist back here, and this is a custom map mod. My towers have already reached the walls, and let me show you the siege that's taking place. My Chosen exited their towers, and I skipped through some of this because there was quite a long time that it took them to roll forward. And you can see Skullex, the great Chaos Dragon here, coming in to fight as well for the first time in battle, and he is going to be a foe to be reckoned with that 15% ward save. I've also got Sextus dive bombing some of these Banshees because of his magical attacks. The number of Vargulfs we are facing is extraordinary at this point, so we do have a fight on our hands, but I have the troops to be able to handle those Vargulfs on both sides, but we are up against 9 of them. Over here, the AI was doing a little bit of weird stuff around the gates, so Archaon's having a bit of a duel with these vampires who think they're much tougher than they really are, and they decide that, yes, we should probably go inside and close the gates. As for the remainder of the vampire contingent, Manfred leading them here. This map is absolutely beautiful. So a lot of Graveguard with great weapons, Black Knights, more Vargulfs, lots of Black Knights. So the vampires have a huge contingent of forces, but they are just being absolutely out-muscled right now. As you can see that my Chosen just cutting their way through Graveguard with great weapons, Vargulfs. These units are just not making a dent in my units. I've brought up the battering ram, which is otherwise known as Kolek. And I'm going to use Kolek to pound my way through the front gate. Skull X is just tearing through vampire infantry. I'm going to get him back in the air here and use his breath ability. He's got a very potent breath attack that is somewhat similar to a Star Dragon. So I get Sextus back up, and then Skull X, I'm going to move him into position. Manfred is healing his troops. The Cairn Wraiths make the fight a little tougher over here too. So again, my units over here don't have magic damage, but they are still able to cut their way through this fight. I'm going to move Skull X into position. I'll let you all see the awesome power of his breath attacks here. So we racked up about 84 kills in the first one, and after a short cooldown, or he had some kills prior to that, so actually not a ton of kills there. I hit a Cairn Wraith. We hit it pretty hard. The other side of the gate, I've got Kolek ready to move into position. I was busy microing that dragon, so it's a little bit slow to get him to the gate, but since the vampires don't have skirmishers, I haven't been under a huge pressure to break down the gate, but it certainly won't take Kolek long. Look at the damage that he causes. He's already at 45% damage, 51. It doesn't take long for Kolek to pound through a gate. Here comes the next attack by Skull X. Let's see where that one got him to. Yeah, I picked up about 40 kills on that one. And let's see what happens whenever the gate breaks. Folks, there are a huge number of Dragon Ogre Shaggoths and Dragon Ogres and cavalry and Archaon himself right on the other side of this gate. So let's sit here and soak this in, soak in the cinematic beauty that's about to happen here, and one of the biggest monster slug out fights that you will see in Total War Warhammer 2. Look at this. The vampire was like, yeah, never mind. I'm gonna go over here in the corner. No one pay any attention to me, please. How appropriate that Kolek leads the way into this, completely fearless of his enemies. Here comes his cousins. Despite the fact that we're going to be opposed by Vargulfs, we're going to have a significant force coming through the gate. First the Shaggoths, then the Dragon Ogres, Archaon. You can see Archaon already up here, and Archaon is attacking Manfred. And Manfred's right here in the center. He's got a lot of Vargulfs and cavalry protecting him. So again, this is not an insignificant force of large units. It would otherwise be fairly difficult to cut down, but anti-large is the speciality of Kolek's army. Kind of like Obi-Wan. Sith Lords are a speciality. Well, here you go. Kolek, we're a Jedi, then these are the Sith Lords that he's facing, but we all know that he would be more akin to a Sith Lord. And like I said, this is one heavyweight slug match here, and it is one that the vampires are losing massively, as my Dragon Ogre Shaggoths just cut a swath through the cavalry. And then the Vargulfs taking a little bit longer to single out, but they will be singled out and quickly destroyed. See back here that Skull X continues to feed on the undead. He will be tired after such a great victory today. Look at his health, all that fighting. He's been involved in 176 kills. That ward save is real, folks. Manfred is still relatively untouched. He's been safe amongst all the other units here. At this point, he starts to get surrounded. Archaon is near him. You can see, it's very hard to see actually because of the amount of action taking place here. You can see Manfred kind of pinned into this fight. He's now completely surrounded by Dragon Ogres, and they are all taking shots at him. And Manfred starts to die very, very quickly here. I'm not going to be able to see him too great from up here. You can kind of see him right there in his horse. Desperately trying to keep himself alive with magic, and Archaon is going for a killing blow here. It's hard to even see him. Such a mess in there. Manfred is taken down, so all that's left is his Vargulfs. So despite having a massive garrison at Castle Drakenhof and an entire army from Manfred, the vampires just had no way to beat down the huge horde of cavalry and monsters, and then on top of that, their infantry was hopelessly outclassed by the Chosen of Archaon, who came here and absolutely mopped the floor with the vampire infantry and took the walls, didn't even have to assist in the fight against the large enemies, simply massacred the undead, and then Kolek opened the gate, if open is the word you want to use, more like crushed, and a victory goes, and to the victor, the spoils, as Castle Drakenhof is now under the control of the Lord of the End Times. So that right there is how you beat down vampires. I mean, folks, that was a lot of vampires, and relatively powerful ones at that. And you saw how my army just muscled straight through it. The chaos favor is absurd, and I love it. Archaon's gonna hit rank 30, and we're going to get 72,000 dark favor. And we've unlocked the Soul of Damnation as well. So this is a good place to leave off on this test episode. Kind of a test episode in the sense that it was longer. This has been fun to make, but oh my gosh, folks, this took so long. I don't know that I can do these long episodes every time. I wanted to do this as something special for those who have been asking for it, but having done this and gone through it, this is a huge amount of time to invest for the one episode. I'm certain that you all will like it, and I very much appreciate how much you've been enjoying it, that I will probably go back to about the normal 35 to 40 minute episodes, as those are something I can accomplish in a single night. Do hope you all enjoyed it, and guess what? There will be more coming back this weekend, so stay tuned as the End Times campaign continues. I think that we are getting our message across to the vampires and apparently freeing up a lot of real estate for the greenskins. I will see you all next time.